Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Sunday night. Lovely to have you guys in here for another episode of the Prime Time program. Hope your weekend was spectacular. Unless you're a Vols fan, then you're probably in hell. But that's okay on the Selection Sunday. We're here to talk about some good news in your sports life. Calvin Ridley introduced officially as a member of the Tennessee Titans on Friday. Obviously, we didn't have a primetime show on Friday night to recap it. But for those of you who listened to the radio show, I'm sure you saw the interview or listened to the interview with Calvin Ridley that we did from the facility on Friday. Really enjoyed him, but he definitely set the tone at his introductory press conference. So for those of you who didn't see the press conference, we're going to recap a couple of the highlights for you and discuss. We'll talk about expectations for Calvin Ridley before we get to a Calvin Ridley related Sunday Fun Day. 3 straight segments of Calvin Ridley right to your neck because you can't get enough Titans wide receivers. And this one, I think he's going to be pretty good. Before we get started, need you guys to share the broadcast around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch, wherever you are spending your precious and valuable time with us. We appreciate it, first and foremost, but need you to share this show. If you're on Facebook Live, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. If you're on YouTube or Twitch, like Randy Howard, I see Jable Z615. You can like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And if you're on Twitter, simple. Retweet the show, bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Let's go ahead and get this started. Talk a little Calvin Ridley on this Sunday night and get to some of the highlights from his introductory press conference. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the wonderful people at Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, get up to $1,000 on your no danger first wager. Zensports.com for more information. True Math Fitness in the Gulch. No workout ever recycled or repeated. True Math Fitness is there to help you maximize your fitness potential. TrueMathFitness.com for that first workout free. And, of course, Two Rivers Ford, quality American-made Ford vehicles from the South's most trusted Ford dealership. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. For those of you who enjoy the Two Rivers Ford below MSRP commercial on TV, we're shooting 3 more on Tuesday morning. So you're going to hear a whole lot more Two Rivers Ford coming to a television and radio near you. Anyway, Calvin Ridley, absolutely electric. He is going to be not just a good quote, but he's going to give you as much offensive firepower as you've had on this team since, I would argue 2020 with Jonnu Smith, with A.J. Brown, with Corey Davis, with Tannehill, with Derek. This is going to be a pretty interesting experiment that we see play out, and how the Titans might choose to deploy him remains to be seen. We got a lot. Well, actually, we really don't have that much time before these guys start practicing. Because remember, when you fire a coach or when you hire a new coach, your team can start voluntary work way earlier than the rest of the NFL. So first or second week of April, the Titans will have some form of practice in some form or fashion. And that's going to start to inform us about how this team might look, what this team is going to, what their preferences, what their tendencies are going to be, how they'll deploy their personnel, or at least give us a rough idea of how they might go about this thing. It's going to be fascinating to watch, and I'm very much looking forward to it. But in the meantime, all we have is press conferences. And at the press conference on Friday, I felt like Calvin Ridley set a very important tone. He obviously has a lot of things that he wants to get off his chest. He's a very outspoken individual. He's a very passionate individual, and I thought that came through. Winning the press conference doesn't mean shit. We know that. But when you look at what this person brings, that level of competitive fire, just to be cliche, dude's a dog, and you don't have that many on your roster. So to add him into this mix and to see the level of motivation that he's going to bring to this thing, I think should make Titans fans cautiously optimistic. So what I want to ask you guys to start your Two Rivers Ford take here this evening on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. What was your biggest takeaway from Calvin Ridley's introductory press conference? You can let us know in the comments section if you would be so kind. Right after I remind you that the Two Rivers Ford Take is presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealership, where they sell all their new non-specialty Ford vehicles below MSRP. You know that I'm a Two Rivers Ford customer. You know that DeAndre Hopkins drives a truck from Two Rivers Ford. Coach Dave McGinnis, Dawn Davenport, Ramon Foster, and hundreds of thousands, nay, millions of Tennesseans who have shopped with them over the course of their 40-plus years in existence. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. What was your biggest takeaway from his press conference? He's a grown man, says Karen O'Keefe. He made sure to interview or to emphasize that. MB says Buck, his interview with Mike Keith and Amy Wells was pretty cool too. He got emotional. Yeah, he seems to be a very emotional guy. I haven't had a chance. Well, we'll play a clip from the Mike Keith one, the one that went viral, not the serious nature of the conversation, or learning really anything about Calvin Ridley. Just a very, very funny, awkward, cheesy broadcast moment that I think is worth diving into. And because Mike Keith is a pro, it makes it even funnier. But I think that he got a little dusty with me in the interview that we did for radio, and we started talking about mental health, therapy, how his year off from football, how that informed him, gave him the tools that he needs to be able to manage his mental health as a professional athlete. It turns out it's as important as managing your physical health to your performance. If you're not right in the head, or if you're not thinking clearly, you're not seeing straight, whatever generality you want to use to describe the state of upstairs, Calvin Ridley is somebody who's very clearly got a deep connection to his emotions, to his feelings, and how that informs everything that he does, whether it's on or off the football field. And obviously a huge part of that passion is on display on the football field. Now, he was very honest with us when we asked him why the Titans. He said he wanted to go back to Jacksonville, but sounds like they kind of messed with him a little bit, or messed around with him a little bit, and he didn't appreciate it. And he said, you know what? The money wasn't bad here. That's the kind of honesty that that answer alone makes me think that this is somebody who's going to be transparent in his dealings with us, because that's what it is for most professional athletes. Not the Titans, or whatever organization you want to use, the Ravens, the Titans, the Colts, the Steelers, whomever. Like, when you come out and say immediately, hey, why the Titans? Well, the money was great. That allows me to take down whatever transparent, romanticized veil you have about this thing, and lets me know that you're going to be honest with me in your dealings, even though it's just, an aside, and maybe Titans fans didn't love the idea of, well, what do you mean it's just about the money? No, for the vast majority of these dudes, it is about the money, and Calvin Ridley got the bag, deservedly so. But as you look at his press conference, what was your biggest takeaway from it? Black Steve on YouTube says he's confident and ready to play, like he has a chip on his shoulder to prove he earned his contract. Absolutely. MB says he likes that honesty. I don't like verbal jello of lies to make us feel cushy, which is what basically every other athlete does, and that Calvin Ridley did not. To his credit, thank you for just being straight up. That's all. Puka says, does Rand know Titans have defense? Wait, listen, you hate Vrabel, but you want to play offense. So here comes Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon. You've got all offense, but no defense. That's going to be an interesting dynamic to play out, Puka. But yeah, they don't have defensive linemen, they don't have linebackers, but we're here to talk about Calvin Ridley tonight. Said Morrow says, let Rand cook. Titans in good hands. Well, we don't know what that's going to look like just yet, because there was a whole cult of you telling me in J-Rob we trust for the better part of 6 years, and how quickly that blew up. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with Rand. I'm just saying, like, Titans are in good hands. You have no idea, right? You have no idea what this is going to look like, but they're checking a lot of the right boxes, and that's okay to be realistic about this thing. Ricky says, my favorite part was how intelligent he is. He looks at things on the next level. I agree. He's a very, very high processing individual, and that comes across in just talking to him. Herschel says he is ready to put in work next to D-Hop. Absolutely. So as we look at this, there were a couple of different things that I took away, but when you talk about the kind of player that he is, or when he talked about the kind of player that he is, I think that level of transparency and, obvious skill that he's going to bring to your football team is what came through the most.
Exciting. I'm a player. It doesn't matter who the other teams have. I don't really care who they have. I mean, obviously we'll look into it, but I'm a believer in who I'm working with. So we out there running those sprints, and we sweating in the off season, and we working together, and we becoming brothers. at the end of the day, I believe in everyone on my team. That's when I came from Alabama. Like when I look around, I don't care who the other team has. We're gonna work to be good, and we're gonna kick their ass. And then I don't really care who they. I mean, I believe in my teammates and the work that we're gonna put in. But like you said, this division is getting really good for real. They got some good players on these other teams. So, but we got good players too. And we're gonna come with it. And I know they're building a great organization around here, and I'm excited, man. I'm ready, excited to do what I got to do.
A to Z Sports Prime Time is presented by TrueMap Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMapFitness.com. Your first workout is free. No workout ever recycled or repeated. They helped me lose almost 50 pounds at TrueMap. They can help you accomplish your fitness goals, whatever they may be. Mine were a little more extreme. I needed to drop weight. I have high blood pressure. I have hypertension. Having additional weight on your body when you have high blood pressure, turns out, for those of you who wonder about my neck veins, yes, that's actually a diagnosed thing. But yes, there's all number of ways that they can help you achieve your fitness goals, whether it's to lose weight, whether it's to tone yourself, whether it's just generally improve your physical fitness if you're somebody who feels like your health is being impacted by that. TrueMapFitness.com for that first workout free. So Calvin Ridley talking about the division, talking about the level of competitiveness that they are going to bring. Chosen says, Buck, I went to Tin Roof today and was looking for you. I was there on Friday, not on Sunday. Today I was at dinner with Greg Cosell, actually, before the primetime show, because he was in town for the basketball. It was a great time. We went to the Southern. It was delightful. No free ads. But I think that when you're looking at all of this, you have to understand that this is a player who's been slighted in a number of different ways. And though he has been paid, I still think brings that level of competitive fire, that clear passion. And he's probably a little nervous, honestly, up there too. I think he was over talking a little bit, and that's fine. Not just because I'm a media vulture and quotes are better for me than not, but Roy says it correctly. Sounds like he was ready to go to work, right? Sounds like he's somebody who genuinely loves football. And money is a part of it, and you want to be paid what you're worth. We all want to be paid what we're worth. Robert wants to be paid what he's worth. Now, what Robert is worth is a matter of some discussion. I want to be paid what I'm worth. You want to be paid what you're worth in whatever job that you do. And Calvin Ridley is just like you and me that way. But that it doesn't diminish his passion. Money doesn't immediately mean that you've achieved some kind of goal, even though it is substantial money, $92 million, $50 million guaranteed. That's big time payday for him. He is going to, it sounds like he is going to continue to thrive. Oliver Brandon said they should have paid A.J. Brown. Well, the people who didn't pay A.J. Brown got fired. None of the people who were involved with the A.J. Brown thing are still here. So the fact that we're still talking about A.J. Brown is one of the dumbest things out there. I don't know why the discourse continues around that. I don't know why Titans fans would engage in that. I don't know what you're doing, Oliver. What the hell are we talking about? Sure, they should have paid A.J. Brown. They didn't. The people that didn't got fired. And now you have a whole new staff, a whole new front office, a whole new coaching staff, and another wide receiver. You're going to be okay. A.J. Brown's in Philadelphia. You have Calvin Ridley. Enough of the crying. Okay, you're all right. So as we Jason Nobbin says, I'm sick of that narrative. It's not even a narrative. It's just unintelligent. Like, it's just not paying attention to everything that has happened with this franchise. And I assume that most of you do, because you're Titans fans, of course. But if you're going to be lazy like that and talk about they should have paid A.J. Brown, they should have, okay, they didn't, and things happened. There were consequences of that. Now we're at a different point in the franchise's timeline, and the fact that we're even spending this much air or this much breath on A.J. Brown, what is 3 years after the fact, it blows my mind. Some of you, the way that you can't let go. I assume that you're still very attached to your high school girlfriends that way, when they left you at some point in your life, or boyfriends, whatever the case may be. Like you struggle with letting go. You struggle with rejection or something like that. Even though AJ didn't really reject you, you rejected AJ, and then you all got fired, right? That's how it goes. So I think that there's a lot of this stuff that with Calvin Ridley, he brings a variety of different things to your football team, including a versatile skill set that is going to allow him to, I think, play to a better version of himself than the Jacksonville. And Jacksonville wasn't bad, right? 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. It's something that he kept citing over and over and over again. Chris Johnson says, what's our chances of picking up Bowers? I have no idea. What's the draft board look before and ahead of you? It's March the 17th. We have more than a month to going to the draft. I have no idea what that's going to look like. I can't tell you who's going to be picked before you that would give you a chance at Bowers. I don't know when Bowers is going to go, so I don't know why we're talking about draft stuff when we're clearly focused on Calvin Ridley. Stay with me here. So as we look at Calvin Ridley and the press conference doesn't buy him anything other than you guys enjoyed it, and he's clearly got good energy about the whole situation, and he's clearly self-aware, which I appreciate. How that translates into production, we will wait to see, which is what we can talk about coming up next. What is your expectation for Calvin Ridley? You can make it statistical, you can make it receptions, you can make it touchdowns, you can make it yardage. What is your level of expectation for Calvin Ridley heading into 2024? We'll talk about it together right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, get up to $1,000 on your no danger first wager. Get in on their same game parlays. They offer 10 same game parlays, boosted same game parlays, each and every day on the NHL and the NBA for you to take advantage of. Go to zensports.com. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 and up and in the state of Tennessee to bet. So, Nuclear Play Stuff, I think, is the YouTube handle for him to at least get 750 yards and 8 touchdowns. So, that you expect a lower level of production. Now, he was the number one wide receiver in Jacksonville. So, maybe Hop is the number one wide receiver here in Tennessee. Maybe that's a player to be named later, whether it's a draft pick or, well, one would assume it's a draft pick. I don't think it's going to be NWI, though. That would be a story, wouldn't it? For him to get at least 750 yards and 8 touchdowns. Now, 8 touchdowns a lot, okay? I would probably lower my expectations as far as scoring, but we'll see. Adrian says for that paycheck, basically, he should be the leading receiver. Depending on what statistical category you're looking at, I don't think that's an unfair expectation. Jig gave this guy the bag. You're going to expect him to go out there and make plays. MB says expectations to make defenses adjust how they play us when he's out there. Jacob Ray simply says of leading wide receivers, it definitely won't be Burks. Yeah, that's unlikely, but I'm Traylon just I feel like I've said this over and over again, so I don't want to sound gratuitous, but like Traylon doesn't exist to me until I have a reason to think that Traylon Burks exists. Like Traylon Burks is not real as far as I'm concerned. He's just a body. He's just a number. He's not anything until he's something. So we'll see what happens with Traylon Burks in 2024. 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns for Boss Man Jim. I think for him to lead, I guess you don't know what all personnel is going to be available to you, but I don't think it's an unfair or an unrealistic expectation to think this guy could lead the Titans in receptions. I think that Hopkins is going to obviously be right there. It might be evenly spread. We'll see what this offense exactly looks like, how they play off one another, how they deploy Ridley in certain circumstances. But I think for him to lead the Titans in receptions is not an unfair expectation. I think that for that kind of a paycheck, you have to produce. Now his cap hit isn't huge this year, and it sure as hell goes up in year 2. But Calvin Ridley he'll be 30 by the time this. He'll be 30 at some point during the season. He's 29 right now. He's got a different level of usage on his body, though age is still a thing, so it's something to pay attention to. Matt Fortner says for him to play all the games. He was available in all 17 games last year, to his credit. It is also something that he brought up in his press conference. But I think all of those are fair expectations. 8 touchdowns is a lot, but we'll see. He pulled it off last year in a Jags offense that had plenty of problems, and how much better he can be in Tennessee. Well, I don't know what Tennessee is going to look like, but I'm curious, and that's a good starting point. The Primetime Show is made possible. Well, actually, let me ask you guys this question as we move forward. What is the best thing that you saw on the internet this weekend? A little Sunday Funday action to wrap up the Primetime broadcast. What is the best thing? Mine's Calvin Ridley related, so stick around if you like the Calvin Ridley discussion so far. Right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Your dream address without the stress, the intel edge you need to succeed can be found with the official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators. That's GaryAshton.com. So what's the best thing you saw on the internet this weekend? Mine was this clip of Mike Keith, Calvin Ridley, and Amy Wells from the Official Titans podcast. It is clearly something that's very emotional for Calvin Ridley, but that's not the part that I care about. The part that I care about is how Mike Keith just robotically transitions, seamlessly transitions from hugely emotional, very, very tense is probably not the right word, but there's clearly some level of emotion that is clouding, or not clouding, but I'm phrasing this poorly. Long story short, it was a great interview done by the OTP, but the funniest part was how Mike Keith transitioned out of the interview afterwards.
What would you tell that guy that would help him for the next 6 years to make him better, or maybe not make certain mistakes or whatever? I always think that's interesting because we don't get to show those to guys very often. At that time, we did them with everybody who would take visits. And the only way they aired is if we picked the player, so nobody's ever seen that. So what would you tell that guy?
I'll tell that guy, you're the coolest person in the world. For real. I don't know.
That's good, though. That's good stuff. You were a first-round pick, and it turned out to be a very good thing. Got to take care of mom. And here you are in the NFL, and you're a Tennessee Titan now after being a free agent, and you've got a contract that is obviously very special, and you've earned it. You've got to be proud of this moment. We're so happy you're here. Didn't mean to hit you that way. Just thought it'd be fun to take a look at it. You have no idea how happy we are to have you here, Calvin Ridley. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. SeatGeek is.
It's the end where he just pops up. Listen, Mike Keith is such a pro, right? He is. There is nobody. Greg Cosell and I were talking about this at dinner earlier today when we were when Greg and I were catching up. He's in town for the basketball, as I mentioned earlier, and he's getting ready to fly back to Philadelphia. Be back in town, by the way, for the install, the live show, where we're going to break down Calvin Ridley. We're going to break down the entire Titans draft class to come. Bert is going to drop the Eventbrite link in the chat for you, because I should have told him to do that earlier, and now he's going to have to go and find the Eventbrite link because the tickets are selling very, very fast. But anyway, Greg and I were talking about Mike. We were talking about a variety of different things. We were talking about Calvin Ridley at dinner too. But with Mike Keith, there was nobody better. You guys, and I say this as somebody who's not, I work here, right? I get to work with somebody like Mike Keith, which is such a great pleasure, because that's what an actual professional broadcaster looks like, not just some loudmouth asshole with a microphone in front of his face. Yeah. But it is so funny to watch Mike have that deeply emotional and impacting moment with Calvin Ridley, and then just pop up and hit him with a SeatGeek read like I would here with you if I had made one of you sob about your mother.
You have no idea how happy we are to have you here, Calvin Ridley. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. SeatGeek is.
It's so good. It's so good. He just right back to it. Mike Keith, absolutely a pro's pro, but just so funny to see him go from heart-wrenching, tear-jerking, emotional interview subject to, they're not a partner of ours, so I won't plug it. But it made me laugh. It was great. Anyway, Terry Anderson says, expert video editing, Buck. Well, that's not me. That's Bert. I take credit for a lot of things that I don't deserve credit for, but credit where credit is due. Bert is good on the trigger that way. It's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Radio show tomorrow. We're going to talk about the Titans. We'll obviously talk about Calvin Ridley a great deal. We'll talk about the Tennessee Vols. We have a March Madness bracket. The Vols are a 2 seed. Horrible result for them over the weekend, or on Friday, getting smoked by Mississippi State. So we'll talk about whether that's an anomaly or something that you have to be concerned about moving into March, because, of course, postseason play, not Rick Barnes' strength. Anyway, 10-1, 104.5 The Zone tomorrow. Check out the Calvin Ridley interview on 104.5 The Zone's YouTube page. I got 20 minutes with him. It was great. I didn't make him cry the way Mike Keith did. I'm no Mike Keith. You guys know that. But it was still a good interview, and I think you guys will enjoy it. And make sure that you check it out, the install link that Bert just dropped, where we're going to have a live show with Greg Cosell with me. We've got some special guests planned for you guys this year that we didn't get a chance to do last year. And we're going to break down Calvin Ridley as a part of the Titans offense. We're going to talk about how he'll work with DeAndre Hopkins, and of course the entire draft class, because it's 6 days after the draft when we're hosting the podcast live on May the 3rd at the Hutton Hotel. Tickets on sale right now at 1045thezone.com. You can get in the door for $25. If you want a VIP ticket, it comes with 2 drink tickets, dinner before, and priority seating. And it's for a great cause, because we're raising money for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So make sure you're in the house, because it's going to be awesome. See you guys tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on 1045 The Zone.